Winter in the northern village wasn't just cold, it was cruel. The kind of cold that bites at your bones and turns every breath into a puff of ghostly vapor. But Mike, he was used to it. Just a quiet man, living a simple life. Every morning, same routine. Heavy boots, woolen hat, and off to the frozen lake with his fishing rod in hand. That morning started like any other, but something in the air felt wrong. The forest, usually alive with birdsong and distant creaks of old trees shifting in the frost, had fallen into an unnatural silence. And when Mike reached the lake's edge, that silence pressed down on him like a weight. Then, a sound. Not wind, not cracking ice. Something low, almost like a moan or a growl. He scanned the vast white sheet of the lake. About 100 yards out, something moved. And then he saw it, a bear, enormous, half submerged in the ice, fighting with everything it had to survive. Its giant paws slapped helplessly at the edge, water pulling it down like a slow, merciless hand. The ice around it fractured more with every struggle. And in that moment, Mike froze. Run? Help? Die trying. His mind raced, but one truth silenced it all. If he did nothing, the bear would die. So he took a breath, looked up at the endless gray sky, and stepped onto the ice. Every step was a gamble. The ice groaned beneath him, threatening to give away. The cold stabbed through his clothes like knives, but he moved forward, eyes locked on the drowning animal, and as he got closer, he saw its eyes. Not wild, not furious, just afraid. So painfully human, it stopped him in his tracks. "Hang on, buddy," he whispered, like he could understand. A sharp crack snapped through the air beneath his boots. The ice was reaching its limit, but Mike didn't stop. He dropped to his knees, crawling now, rope in hand. Closer, closer. And then he was there. He looped the rope and threw it. Missed. The bear let out a broken sound. He tried again. This time, it caught. "Gotcha," he breathed. With every ounce of strength left in him, he pulled. The bear, maybe sensing the effort, kicked feebly, trying to help. The ice screamed under them both, but inch by inch, the massive creature began to rise. And just when it seemed they had made it, the edge gave way. The bear crashed back into the water. Mike screamed, "No!" but didn't let go. He pulled harder, harder than he ever had in his life. And the bear, with one final effort, surged out of the hole. It collapsed onto the ice beside him, soaking, gasping, alive. For a moment, everything stood still. Mike lay there, chest heaving, his body shaking from cold and fear and awe. The bear's sides rose and fell with labored breath. And then it looked at him, not with rage, not with fear, but something else, something that didn't need words. Then it got to its feet, unsteady, and began walking toward the forest. But just before it disappeared into the trees, it turned, and it looked back. Mike never forgot that look. A week passed. The lake, the snow, the silence, all back to normal. But Mike wasn't. He kept replaying that moment in his head, the way it had looked at him, the impossible calm in its eyes. Probably just my imagination, he told himself. But one night, he saw it again. He was sipping tea by the window when that old feeling crept in, that sense of being watched. He opened the door, and there, standing at the edge of the woods, was the bear, still, silent, waiting. Mike's breath caught. Was it angry? Was this revenge? But it didn't move, so neither did he. Instead, he did something strange. He brought out a piece of bread, placed it gently in the snow, stepped back. The bear waited, then lumbered forward and ate, slowly, eyes never leaving Mike's. And then it was gone. The next morning, something was left at his door. A fish, fresh, big, placed carefully in the snow. It was a gift. From that day on, their connection deepened. No words, no sounds, just signs. Every few days, another offering. A rabbit, a deer's haunch. Tokens of a wild creature's silent gratitude. And Mike, he started to look for those signs, to expect them, to smile when he found them. But then came the storm, one of the worst in years. Winds howled like spirits in mourning. Snow choked the air. Trees bent and snapped like matchsticks. Mike hunkered down, wood stocked, food stored, fire blazing. But even with all that, he felt alone. Until a thud at the door. He opened it, and there it was, the bear, covered in snow, trembling, eyes wide with something Mike had never seen before: fear. Without thinking, Mike stepped aside, let it in, and the bear, this wild thing of the forest, walked into his home, sat by the fire, shivered, trusted him. The storm raged on outside, but inside, warmth slowly returned to both of them. When the storm finally passed, the bear stood, looked at him once more, and left. But Mike wasn't afraid this time, because he knew it would come back. The seasons shifted, the snow melted, the visits became fewer, but the bond never faded. Somewhere out there, in the great silence of the woods, Mike knew the bear was watching, just as he once had. And so, a man who saved a bear was saved by it in return. Not with words, not with grand gestures, but with trust, with silence, with something deeper than friendship, something wild and sacred. And for the rest of his life, Mike carried that connection. A story that could never quite be explained, only felt. A bond that in its quiet way would never break.